first of all, want to say thank you so much for joining us today. This is one of the sessions that we have kind of on the calendar for our monthly career development sessions for faculty and staff in CSE. So we're really excited to share some information about various topics over the fall semester. But this one today will be focused on career outcomes. So yeah, just want to say thanks for being here and I'm excited. I'm excited to share this data. I was telling Christy, like I always get jazzed to share outcomes. I think it's one of the my favorite things of my job is being able to really dive into this and really share what they're doing after graduation, what trends we're seeing, but really I think how these results reflect all of the great work that you all are doing. So students are not obtaining these opportunities, these jobs, acceptance into grad school without a ton of support from faculty and staff, and you're the reason why this success is happening. So I just want to acknowledge that, and we have good news to share today, which is great. So with that, yeah, we're going to keep it to a half hour, so kind of be short and sweet. So I will go over the class of 2024 outcomes. I'll share just briefly kind of some longitudinal trends. We've been collecting data now for quite a while, so I'll just point out kind of a couple trends that we've seen across the years, and then hopefully we will have some time for questions at the end. So for those of you that might not be familiar or super familiar with the process, I just want to spend a minute or two kind of highlighting what that process is. So essentially, our postgrad survey is centrally managed by Career Services Administration. So as you know, career offices exist in every college, but we also have kind of this central arm called Career Services Administration. It really is a partnership, though, between Central Career Services, all the career offices, IT, institutional analysis, just a lot of different departments that kind of contribute to this essentially homegrown process. Students take the survey in Qualtrics, but there is an integration with Salesforce. So I am able to see results as they are coming in real time into Salesforce. There's lots of great reports that I can do. And the nice thing is I can pull data for all of you really whenever you need that and whenever you might need that. In terms of the timeline, students are surveyed shortly before they graduate, so we do try to catch them with this survey before they leave campus. So like in the spring, our largest cohort, usually early March, mid-March, they're going to be getting the link to this survey. It will open up and it will really essentially stay open for a year post-graduation. So we have kind of these, as you can see, the 3-month, 6-month, 9-month, and 12-month mark that we are kind of blasting them. Hey, let us know what you're up to. Has it changed? Were you seeking and now you found something? Update your survey results all the way up until a year post-graduation. So we get those results from students, but we're also kind of supplementing those with LinkedIn data. So we've got some great student workers here in our office that comb LinkedIn profiles. And we also are getting information for students that are pursuing graduate school from the National Clearinghouse. So those really help drive up that knowledge rate. And oftentimes I will get information even from, staff, faculty, folks within the college that might say, oh, I know where this student went, right? So if it's a trusted source, we're able to include that. Final survey results are usually available late summer, early fall. I know in a lot of cases like that seems like, oh, it's a long time, right? We're just now presenting class of 24, which I totally, can understand that. It does take a little bit of time for Central to go through the data, clean it, analyze it, get, all the LinkedIn data in there. So it does seem to be, a little bit later than maybe we would want. But the nice thing is, again, I do have that access to Salesforce, so I can even, show you some trends or say, here's what we have so far, even if it's not kind of that finalized data. But that's a little bit about the process, just so you kind of have an understanding. The survey itself generally takes 5 to maybe could take upwards of 7 to 8 minutes to take, depending on all the things students have been involved in, but it is a pretty short survey. We try to keep it that way. This is something that you may or may not be aware of. It's our post-graduation survey dashboard. So this is something that you should all have access to. If you have access to student data, you should be able to log into this secured dashboard. And essentially, it's going to kind of give you highlights. It's going to show you where students landed, across all colleges. You're going to be able to see university, but then also again drill down to college, major, program. It'll give you some lists of companies, pretty basic. It's not going to give you the full list. It'll give you like the top 10 companies, the top 10 grad schools. But it's, I think, really nice just to bookmark. It generally is updated, although now you can see I just took a screenshot. Hasn't been updated here in a couple days, so it's not every day. There will be times they pause it and then kind of activate it. But it's nice to be able to look at those trends. You can see there on the right, there's different things that you can kind of filter by, right? Some demographic information there, first gen, honors, athletes, so on and so forth. And it will show you a breakdown of employment. Are they employed by a company or organization? These smaller ones here could be like freelance, contract, temporary work. Are they accepted into grad school? Are they seeking employment? So, and then it will show you that knowledge right there at the end. So this is a great dashboard. Please spread the word. I'm sort of trying to strike that balance of like running customized reports and giving you all data that you need, but also just kind of directing folks here for the basics in terms of the survey results. So we can get into the outcomes breakdown here for the class of 24. It's really good news. We landed with a 94.5% career outcomes rate. So career outcomes, it sort of takes the place of like a placement rate. We might commonly have heard that term, but essentially that means that percentage of students ended up being employed or continuing education, with a small percentage there, a little over 5% that were seeking employment. So really solid. I do lots of benchmarking. I meet with my peers, my counterparts in the other Big Ten schools, and many of them saw a little bit of a dip with the job market softening over the last year and a half. Some folks are seeing lower rates there, but we're pleased to see ours stay, and you'll see some of those trends in mid 90s is always a great place to be. So again, time will tell with the class of 25 and how that all shapes up, but yeah, this is kind of just the general breakdown of where our students are going after graduation. And we'll get into a little bit more of the specifics. In terms of employment, average starting salary, our mean was just a few dollars short of 80,000. We almost made it, but we round up. We can round up for reporting purposes. With that average, almost 80,000. Our median ticked up. We were at about 75,000 for a few years, and now we're sitting at 78,000, which is great. I will say the range is very large. So we will have, some folks that report in the 40s and some that are well into the six figures, those tech companies driving up some of those metrics on the West Coast. So really company size, location is really going to be more indicative of that starting salary. So we're oftentimes, running customized reports for companies, for departments, if you're curious to kind of drill down into those salaries. About 72% of students are working in Minnesota. That's pretty typical. It kind of ebbs and flows, low to mid 70s. But it's great news. We're very lucky, and you'll see on the slide, a couple of slides here, we've got those companies that are practically in our backyard. They're hiring a lot of our students, and just really great to see them stay in the state and drive our economy forward. Other top states, probably not surprising, right? Those top companies we're going to see out there on the West Coast, California, Washington, students moving to Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Madison, many companies that hire from Wisconsin. Chicago's a big hub as well, so we'll see students there. And then Texas usually makes our top list as well. Austin being kind of a newer tech hub, as well as the oil and gas industry there would often hire many of our chemi students. A couple little just kind of fun points to point out here. Top ways that students learn about their position. We asked them, what was the most important thing that kind of contributed to you finding out about your position? And number one is they were converted. So they had an internship, they had a co-op, and it actually turned into a full-time offer. So that's wonderful. And, really just it goes to show the importance of that internship, and for many students getting that offer and just starting their senior year with a job offer and accepted offer in hand is a really great place to be. So that's really great to see. But number two is career fair. So we're always evaluating, as you probably all know, if you've been to the fair, we put a lot of time and energy into that event. So it's really important that that's actually paying off for students, and it indeed is. I think students don't always know when they walk away from the fair how maybe successful it went, but ultimately many students are learning about the company, learning about the position from the CSE fair, which is great. And then number three, LinkedIn. So lots of networking opportunities on that platform. I'm very happy to see that that platform is stuck around, and as far as I know, there isn't anything that's replacing it as of yet. So that's been really great to see. We asked them to tell us how aligned their position is with their career goals. And a little over half are saying it's directly aligned, so very related. About 43%, it's a stepping stone. So it might not be their dream job or totally directly aligned, but it's going to get me there. It is a stepping stone to get to a place I ultimately want to be, and that is okay. And a small percentage, about 5% there, saying not really sure, maybe doesn't quite align. But overall, students are satisfied. They're happy with their position with their employer, about 90% saying that they're satisfied or very satisfied. And I think another 7% said they're just neutral. So it's actually a very small percentage that say that they're unhappy with where they are working, which is great news. Top hiring companies, I think it's always kind of fun to see who emerges here. And we have many folks from these companies that are on our employer advisory board. And so it's always kind of fun to see, like, all right, who got the number one spot? Boston Scientific far and away this year. I think they had 26 full-time hires that were reported. So really, really great number. They edged out Medtronic. Usually those two are kind of vying for the top position. U of M, we often don't think our place of employment is a place of employment for a lot of our students. So many of them going off to get research or other sorts of positions at the U of M. But then you can kind of see there the list. A couple other things to highlight. Amazon was one that kind of fell off the list for a while. They're back. They're not in the top five like they usually are, but with tech layoffs and a lot of impacts in that space, they're coming back, which is really good. I think they hired about 7 students. 3M, they used to be at least in the top 3 or 4. You probably know, it's been a tough few years for them, and so good to see them at least on this list. It's encouraging that we saw them at our fall career fair, and really hope that they can make it back up into the top few there here shortly. But they are building up their internship program again, as a few years they didn't even offer that. So that was really good to hear. All right. We asked students to tell us what they were involved in outside of the classroom. So you can see here, internship is a really popular experience, and we love seeing that students are engaging in internship and getting kind of that real world experience. This is generally the number that we do see, around 65 to 70%. So right on par with where we typically are. Research, we've seen that number dip for the past couple of years. We used to be sitting at about 40, but this year's showed us about 30. But we also have folks in student services that are on it, building up new programs, research advocates, lab tours, trying to connect students with more experiences. So really hopeful that we will see that bounce up a little bit here in the next few years. Student employment is great to see. Almost half of students are reporting a position on campus. Could be anything from, the rec center to a TA position, really anything that would be on campus. The university is devoting a lot of resources to kind of building up programs. If you haven't heard about the Work Plus program that Annie over in Central Career is working on, that's a really, really great thing to see. And it can be just a really good way for students to gain those skills before they go into an internship. Speaking of internships, a little bit of data around internships that we collect in the survey. We asked students to tell us how many internships they completed, and it's about half and half. About half are saying one, and the other half are saying 2 or more. I'm not sure. The 4% that are doing 4 or more, I don't know how they found the time. They managed to somehow, which is great. But about 58% of students say that they received a full-time offer from their company. And that might seem a little low. I think sometimes even for us, it seems a little bit low, but I will say this is taken from all internships. So when students take the post-grad survey, they might report a sophomore year internship. They might report a junior year, senior year. So this is among all internships. So if you look at just those internships the summer before senior year, that number does climb. But it's still a good number of students that are getting converted into full-time, which we love to see. Average hourly wage is about $25 an hour. That, of course, varies. Again, there's a huge range of pay for those internships, but that's the average as of now. All right, so shifting a little bit to continuing education, we do ask students to tell us a little bit about what they're doing, where they're going to further their degree. So you can see there, just shy of about 60% are pursuing a master's degree, an academic master's there, with about a quarter entering a doctoral program. And then pretty small percentages there for other sorts of degrees. We see students that go on for a second bachelor's. I think we had one or two each of MBAs, law program, MD. So pretty small percentages going into those programs. But in terms of the top institutions, U of M is great. Many of our grads want to stay here to pursue further education, so about over half here at the U. And then you can see others, Georgia Tech, Illinois, University of St. Thomas. That was kind of an interesting one to see pop up. I don't think I'd seen that one be in the top list. I think there was a few students that were doing teaching certificates there, master's programs as well. So MIT, Colorado, kind of rounding out that top list. All right, so just to kind of wrap up here with some longitudinal trends, like I mentioned, we have been collecting data now for like 10 years, substantial data, I should say, within the college. And so you might kind of take a look at this and say, well, it doesn't really seem like it changes much year to year, and it doesn't really too much. I'll point out a couple things here. If you look at 2020, 2021, impacts of the pandemic, certainly there. We definitely see when the job market tightens, when it's, kind of softening a little bit, we tend to see higher percentages of students pursuing additional education, which makes sense, right? They might be pursuing parallel paths, might be looking for jobs, but also applying to grad schools. And if, maybe things aren't looking so great on the job front, then, maybe going on to complete another degree makes sense. So we do see, increase there in 2020, 21. But then 22, 23, the job market was humming. Things were, going pretty well in a lot of different industries. And now you'll see for 2024 that number is going up a little bit. And there's not maybe necessarily a super direct relationship always. That's just something that we do tend to see. So I think it would be interesting here now in 25 to kind of see what that percentage looks like. But overall, we stay pretty steady, with those kind of seeking employment, seeking a gap year, usually is going to be, in the 5% range, ultimately putting us at, about a 95% outcomes rate. So things do tend to stay pretty steady, which is great because I think even in difficult markets, when employers are scaling back, engineers, scientists, anybody, with a technical degree, they're always going to be marketable. We know this, right? This is the message we tell prospective students and parents, and the message we tell students that even in a tough market, this is a really great degree to have. So it's always encouraging to see even in those tough times that outcomes are very strong. All right, so that's the content that I have for you all. Kind of short and sweet here, but we got a little bit of time. If anybody does have any questions, please feel free. You can ask, put them in the chat or say them out loud, and happy to try to answer to the best of my ability.
Uh,
Kate, oh,
Hi, uh,
Lila,
I
yeah,
have a
Leah,
question. Hi, I'm the
sure,
DGS for astrophysics, and
yeah,
thanks for that presentation. Um,
absolutely.
I was wondering, like about something like 14 or 15% of the students did not fill out the survey, so they did not respond. Do you know, I mean, is there any indication that these might be the ones that are more likely to be not employed or continuing education? Is there a bias?
There could be. It is really hard to say. We really try our
Sure.
hardest. And one thing I didn't mention is, at the university kind of central level, they are sending messages out to students that haven't responded or haven't
Hmm.
updated the survey. But we are
Sure.
doing a ton at the college level too.
Yeah.
We have our students making calls, we're doing LinkedIn combing, we're doing incentives for, free Starbucks and all of the things. So we really try hard to
Right.
track them
Right.
down.
Right.
It is interesting though, the ones that usually I'll, have a spreadsheet and I'll have a handful of like, I just have not gotten a response from them. And when
Hmm.
I start doing kind of the incentives, even for, again, it's like $5 Starbucks gift card, whatever, we, wrap that into our budget. It's not the ones that come back, they're not always like, hey, I'm seeking. Many of them are working and have been
Okay.
working since
Yeah.
graduation, and they just never took the survey. So
Okay.
it's
Sure.
hard to say. I think there could certainly be, that element of like, well, I don't have anything to report because I'm not doing anything. But then
Right.
also
Yeah.
just, students that don't get the emails or just are too busy to do them because they're working. So I think it's,
Right.
could be a little bit of a mix. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Yeah. And thank you so much for your work. This is very useful
Absolutely.
information.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Kate, you had a question.
Yeah, yeah, I agree, Angela. Thanks so much for putting all this
Yeah.
together. Yeah, that PGS dashboard, I remember seeing that a long time ago.
Yeah.
Is that something that you can share a link that we have access to?
Yeah. Yep, I can definitely do that. So I could follow up with that direct link. It is, yeah, it's a little bit kind of hidden. I don't know. I just have it bookmarked. So even finding it, it's on the institutional data and research kind of landing page, but it's a secure dashboard. So like if you're off campus, you do need your VPN and
Yeah,
but you should, Kate, you should have, as everybody I would think in this room would be able to have access to. So I can put a link. Oh, there we go. Chrissy shared it. Looks like perfect.
perfect. Perfect. Thanks.
Yeah, so that should be something. If you don't, it's something I'm sure you can request access, to. I will say that it's not always up. I think I mentioned it's not always updated. Sometimes there'll be a lag, like, oh, this hasn't been updated for a month or whatever. But it is kind of nice to at least, compare maybe if you're looking at kind of longitudinal data for your own program and just want to click around, or you're like, I'm really interested in seeing first gen, or
Yeah,
kind of reporting on other demographics. It is kind of nice to see. Central is also working on more of a public facing dashboard that I think will be intended to more so for like prospective students,
mm,
families that will have similar, but not going to be able to like filter by some of those demographics. So we're waiting on that. I've heard tidbits about it, but not something that's been rolled out yet. But that could also be really helpful, if you all are doing recruiting events and things like that, that you could direct, some students that might be interested in your programs there and be able to tell the story. But yeah, so kind
mhm.
of trying, especially this year, and really spreading the word on that dashboard, and then at the same time being super happy to customize any reports that anybody might need. So
Yeah, because
yeah,
I mean, I love the information that you shared, but yeah, my next step was, but what's the truth for math? So the,
exactly.
the, the
Yes.
dashboard, I should be able to get like top employers, job titles, and then as far as like grad school, like perhaps where my math majors are going on to grad school.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. You'll have a list of about 10, I think it is. I know it's about 10 employers. I believe it's 10. Actually, I have it on my other screen here. Grad schools as well. But I'm always, and actually, Kate, I think it was Mark or David was curious about actuary versus math and stuff. So I've
Oh,
like very recently been working on that. So I'm happy to
okay.
share some of that with you.
Yeah.
But that's like a great example of like if there's a sub plan or a special, like it's things that like this dashboard just might not tell you, or you might think like, I want the full list of employers. Like, I'm really happy to pull that.
Yeah, because and I'm gonna guess where David and Mark are coming from is that we have been finding that students are having a very difficult time finding our actuarial program because it's a sub-plan and it's not listed on the Common App. And we've
Oh,
seen our
sure.
numbers go down. We've also seen that Carlson has created, I think, a competitive program, but does not quite prepare students for being an actuary.
Okay.
So I'm curious, like when you're able to look at like at the actual profession, are you able to see across colleges and
Hmm.
degrees, or is it
That's
just CSE?
Yeah, that's a good. So, like anybody that is working as an actuary, maybe as a job title, yeah, I think I could probably do that. I could probably, it would have to be a Salesforce report, but I
Yeah.
think there's a way that I could probably look at all job titles across a given cohort. Maybe that's every college, or we
Okay.
Carlson, us, CLA, whatever.
Yeah.
And maybe look that way. Yeah, I'm sure there's ways we could get to it. It might involve a little bit of digging, but we
Hmm.
probably could do that. That's an
Okay.
interesting
Interesting.
question. Yeah, and I'll definitely share what I have if you haven't already, if it hasn't been passed along in terms of the outcomes for actuary and just kind of standard math.
Yeah, yeah, I would love to
So
see that.
yeah,
Thanks.
great. Yeah, absolutely. For sure. Yeah, there's a lot of great data and Salesforce is super powerful. You just kind of have to know what reports to I'm learning every day how to most efficiently pull data for everybody. So, yeah. Any other questions at all from anybody?
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
hi.
Hi,
This
Erin.
is Erin Serdoff from CG, and um just I think that you're right about like the uptick in number of folks pursuing grad school when the job market
Yeah.
softens. But I will say like the job market in civil engineering is fantastic.
Oh, yes.
But we've had an uptick in students continuing on for our integrated degree program.
Oh, sure.
And so just because we redesigned that program and got the exception for double counting credits, and so I don't know. I don't think that we're a drop in the bucket compared to the rest of the
Sure.
college.
Yeah.
But I would just say that there might be other reasons, but
Yep,
um yeah.
absolutely.
So that's
Yeah,
all.
that's a really good point. And it's also interesting too with those integrated programs that since we're reporting a year after graduation, like it sort of depends on when students are telling us what their outcome is. If
Yeah,
it's
that's a
at the
good
time of
point.
graduation, they'll say, I'm continuing education. Whereas if they don't take the survey until, I mean, I've seen some where it's like, well, I already got my master's and now I'm done and I'm working at, you know, Antea
Hmm.
Group or whatever, right? Like, so that's a possibility too, and just kind of the timing of when that is reported. But no, it's a really good point, and I will absolutely agree with you. Yeah, that job market for civil, wow, it is just incredible. That could be a whole other webinar, is just positions in that industry, and oh my goodness, yeah. And you all had great engagement at your CG fair the other day last
Yep.
week, and students are having excellent outcomes in your program, which is great. So, but yeah, if there's any other, additional data I can pull for you, that would be helpful. Just happy to do that.
Yeah, no, I'll check out I'm sure that Michelle monitors these all the time.
Sure.
But I didn't realize that I might also have access, so
Sure.
I'll
Yeah,
go
well, for
check
a
out the
while there,
dashboard.
yeah, for a while there, not everybody did. So
Okay.
it was a little touch and go. So yeah, absolutely check it
Okay.
out and hopefully you do. If not, we can definitely make sure that you get that. So
Thanks.
yeah, absolutely. Well, good. Well, I think we're at about time. If there's no other questions, just let me know. Again, happy to pull anything that would be helpful and planning to get some additional info out to all of you and the departments here for the class of 24. And here in November next month, we're going to do our 6 month outreach to the class of 25. So might be able to share kind of some preliminary, things in terms of how things are looking for that class. So just let me know if I can give you anything that would be helpful. Just really appreciate your time today.